I chose my parents over my dreams, and they still weren't proud. It was during my father's retirement party that it hit me. A room full of people clapping for him, speeches being made, smiles all around, and yet, when I handed him the custom gift I'd spent weeks working on, something just cracked. He nodded, said thanks, and moved on. No eye contact, no warmth, no acknowledgement of the time or thought I'd poured into it. And that's when the quiet truth finally sank in, not just about that gift, but about everything I had done leading up to that moment. All the years, all the choices, all the times I said no to myself so I could say yes to them. All the dreams I folded into corners of my life so I could be the good child, the responsible one, the one who stayed close, who didn't stray too far, who kept the family together and carried the expectations like bricks in my chest. And still, it wasn't enough. I stood there, smiling on the outside, but inside I was unraveling. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was just deeply, deeply tired. Tired of trying, tired of performing, tired of holding out hope that one day they'd finally look at me and say, "We're proud of you." Because the truth is, I didn't follow my dream. I buried it. I made a choice, a big one. And I did it for them. I thought they'd see that. I thought they'd understand what it meant to let go of something I loved, something that lit me up, so I could be the kind of son, the kind of daughter who brought peace and stability to the family. I traded in my canvas for a calculator, my dance shoes for deadlines, my voice for silence. And for a long time, I convinced myself it was the right thing to do. But when the applause fades, when everyone goes home, when it's just you, and the echo of everything you gave up, what then? That night I went home and sat in the dark, thinking about the dream I once had, the way it felt, the person I used to be. I thought about all the moments I smiled while shrinking, all the times I played the role they wanted because I believed their pride would one day fill the emptiness I carried. It never did. And this story isn't about bitterness. It's not a rebellion, it's a reckoning. It's about waking up one day and realizing that love and sacrifice don't always guarantee approval. That sometimes you can give your all and still feel unseen. But it's also about something else. Something I didn't see coming. It's about what happens when you finally stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. I used to sing when no one was listening. Not the kind of singing you do in the shower or in the car. I mean really sing. I used to close my eyes and disappear into the melody, like the world melted away and all that was left was sound. I remember being 16, sitting on my bedroom floor, scribbling lyrics in a notebook with the ink smudged by my palms. I dreamed of music schools, of studio lights, of stages and strangers who might one day sing along to something I wrote. But then came the talk. You know the one. The be practical talk. The music isn't a real job talk. The you need something to fall back on talk. I remember my dad's face when I brought it uptight jaw, disappointment buried just behind his eyes. I saw it before he even spoke. We didn't come this far for you to chase a fantasy. I knew what he meant. I knew about the sacrifices my parents working double shifts, saving every dollar, building a future in a country that didn't always welcome them. I knew what was expected, so I nodded. I folded that part of me up neatly, like a letter I wasn't going to send. And that's when the silence began, not in my house, but in me. I stopped singing out loud. I dropped the songwriting classes. I turned down the audition at the local theater. I majored in business, not music. I started dressing like someone I didn't recognize, buttoned up, safe, invisible. And when people asked about my passions, I laughed it off. Oh, that was just a phase. But it wasn't. It was a part of me I tried to bury, and the most painful part? No one asked why. No one noticed I stopped humming around the house. No one wondered what happened to all the notebooks. They just nodded approvingly when I got my first internship. They clapped when I landed my first job. They smiled at the suit, the tie, the resume, but the me inside? He was growing quieter, smaller, like someone standing behind a glass wall, waving for help in a world that had already decided what I should become. I thought that was love. I thought choosing them meant I'd be chosen back, but love, I would later learn, isn't about erasing yourself. And sacrifice, when done in silence, turns into sorrow. I was the first one in our family to get a corporate job. It felt like a big deal. I had the clean desk, the keycard badge, the LinkedIn profile that made relatives smile at reunions. I showed up early, stayed late, followed the rules. I smiled through performance reviews, climbed the ladder, bought the car, signed the lease. But deep down, everything felt hollow. Not because the job was terrible. It wasn't. It was stable, well paid, respectable. But because every win felt like it belonged to someone else. Like I was wearing someone else's life and hoping it would start to fit. I built a version of me that made everyone else comfortable. I picked a partner who my parents liked. Safe, kind, traditional. We bought a condo close to home. We hosted holiday dinners, remembered birthdays, went to church on Sundays. I even started mentoring younger coworkers, hoping it would give me a sense of meaning. And it did on the outside. But on the inside, I felt like a placeholder. Like I was standing in the space where my dream was supposed to be. The hardest moments were at family events. Watching cousins be praised for becoming doctors, engineers, starting businesses. I'd listen to my mom brag about them, full of pride, and when she got to me, her voice would dim. He's doing good. Steady job. Very responsible. That was it. No sparkle, no pride. Just steady. Like I was a pair of shoes that wouldn't wear out. Dependable. Not exciting. Not special. I kept waiting for the moment. The one where they'd look at me and say, "We're proud. We see you." I tried harder. Got another promotion. Bought a house. Paid off their car. And still, there was always something missing. It felt like I had to earn every drop of affection. Like my worth was conditional. Like I had to be more, do more, be perfect just to feel like I mattered. But the more I tried to be what they wanted, the more I lost touch with who I was. There's a kind of silence that cuts deeper than words. It's when you walk into a room and feel invisible. When your achievements are met with nods instead of joy. When your presence feels like a duty to them and your absence barely noticed. That's what it started to feel like every time I visited home. I'd sit across the table from my parents, talking about work, bills, the weather. And still, I'd catch myself watching their faces, hoping for a flicker of pride. A small sign, a softened smile, a pause in their voice when they mentioned my name. But it didn't come. Instead, I heard about how so-and-so's son just opened his own clinic. Or how my cousin had 3 kids and a big house in the suburbs. The subtle comparison. The reminder that I wasn't quite there. That there was always more I should be doing. And I started to wonder, what was all this for? I gave up what I loved. I showed up. I worked hard. I obeyed. I carried the weight of their hopes like it was stitched into my skin. And yet, I still felt like a disappointment. There's a grief that comes when you realize you've built your entire life for people who can't see you. It's not anger, not at first. It's something slower, quieter. It shows up as burnout. As late nights staring at the ceiling. As tears you can't explain. It's standing in the middle of your own life and not recognizing any of it. Wondering if maybe the problem isn't you, but the story you were forced to live inside. And then, the guilt creeps in. Because how dare you feel this way? They worked hard. They sacrificed everything. You have a roof over your head, a job, stability. So you swallow the grief. You dress it up as gratitude, and you keep moving forward. But that ache? It never leaves. It follows you to work. To the grocery store. Into the quiet moments when you're finally alone. It's the voice that says, They're still not proud, and maybe they never will be. And once you hear that voice clearly for the first time, it's almost impossible to unhear it. There's a moment quiet and terrifying when you realize no one is coming to validate you. No big gesture, no proud words, no overdue approval, just silence. And you have to decide, will you keep shrinking yourself to fit into a story that was never yours, or will you finally step out of it? For me, that moment came on a Tuesday. I was sitting alone in my car, parked outside the office, exhausted not from work but from pretending. Pretending to care about things I didn't. Pretending to enjoy a life that never felt like mine. Pretending that I didn't miss the version of me who used to dream without asking permission. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror and whispered something I hadn't said in decades. I don't want this anymore. Not the job, not the performance, not the invisible finish line I kept chasing. I didn't want to be admired for being useful. I wanted to be loved for being me. And that realization didn't come with fireworks or applause. It came with grief, the grief of wasted years, of creative energy bottled up, of love poured into people who couldn't hold it. I mourned the artist I once was, the dreamer, the kid who used to sing. But then something unexpected happened. The mourning made space for something else, something alive. I picked up an old notebook. I wrote again. I sang quietly in the kitchen. I signed up for a weekend class. I stopped saying yes when I meant no. I distanced myself gently from conversations that made me feel small. I surrounded myself with people who saw the light in me, not just the resume. And little by little I met myself again. Not the obedient version, not the polished, impressive one. The real one. The one I used to know before I traded my dreams for someone else's comfort. It wasn't easy. It still isn't. Sometimes I slip back into old patterns, seeking their approval, hoping they'll notice this new me and offer some overdue praise. But now, the difference is, I no longer need it to survive. Their pride is no longer my fuel. Their silence is no longer my shame. Because now I know. My worth was never supposed to come from people who couldn't see the full picture of who I am. I was not born to fulfill someone else's unspoken dream. I was born to live fully, in my own. I chose my parents over my dreams, and they still weren't proud. But today, I'm not telling this story to blame them. I'm telling it to free myself. And maybe, to free you too. We don't talk enough about the weight of generational loyalty. About the quiet sacrifices that children make. About the dreams abandoned in the name of being good, respectful, responsible. And we especially don't talk about how painful it is when that sacrifice goes unacknowledged. But I want to say this clearly, and without bitterness. You do not have to keep earning love that should have been given freely. You do not have to spend your whole life proving your worth to people who see only a fraction of who you are. You can love them and still choose yourself. You can honor their story without losing your own. And if you're watching this, wondering if it's too late to reclaim the dream you buried, please hear me. It's not. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to become someone new, or maybe someone you've always been. The world may not clap. Your parents may not cheer. But something inside you, something ancient and sacred, will rise and say, finally, you came home. And that is more than enough.